Ladies and gentlemen, George Carlin.
By saying fuck Lance Armstrong. Fuck him and his balls and his bicycles and his steroids and his cancer and his yellow shirts and his dumb empty Christian expression on his face. I'm tired of that asshole. And while you're at it, fuck Tiger Woods too. There's another jack-off I can do without. I'm tired of being told who to admire in this country. Aren't you sick of being told who your heroes ought to be? Who you should be looking up to? I'll choose my own heroes, thank you very much. And fuck Dr. Phil, too. Dr. Phil said I should express my emotions, so that's what I'm doing. I might have a little too much on-stage house for me, whatever you call that. Okay, that's probably a little better. Okay, so anyway, since the last time I rolled through these parts, and I do roll through with some frequency, I'm a little bit like herpes, I keep coming back. But since the last time I might have seen some of you folks, I have had my 70th birthday. So yes, I'm now 70 years old, and I like 70, not as much as I like 69. Well, 69 was always my favorite number. Now I figure I'm 69 with one finger up my ass. But now that I'm an old fuck, that's what I consider myself to be, an old fuck. Old fuck is a very special term. It's not like old man. Old man is different. Old man isn't really a time in your life or a period of years. Old man is an attitude. It's a point of view. It's a way of looking at things. Some guys are old men when they're in their 20s. You've met guys like that. They're just wired like old men. Not me. Not an old man and not an old fart, because an old fart is kind of... What I am is an old fuck. It's kind of like a fat fuck. Okay? Fat fuck, tall fuck, skinny fuck, short fuck. Old fuck. Who's the old fuck? That's Georgie. Georgie's the old fuck. In this respect, fuck is actually a synonym for the word fellow. But now that I'm an old fuck, I'm beginning to notice there are some advantages to putting on a few extra years. The first one is, you never have to carry anything heavy ever again. Everybody wants to help an old fuck. If you got a big suitcase or something like that, you know, you just kind of go like this a little bit. You say, hey, could you help me with this? Yeah, hey, how far are you going? Indianapolis. He wants to help, fuck him, put him to work. Take advantage of people. Another good thing about getting older is you can leave any social event early just by saying you're tired. Works great with family members. Just kind of look at the person next to you and you say, geez, I'm getting kind of tired, you know? Oh, you tired? Come on, Grandpa's tired. Grandpa's going to bed. Someone else is, but it's 7:30 in the morning. There's always one asshole in the family. But the best thing about getting old is you're not responsible for remembering things anymore. Even important things. But it was your daughter's funeral. I forgot. You can even make believe you have Alzheimer's disease. Oh, it's a lot of fun. You look around the dining room table and you say, who are you people and where's my horse? Then you stare at your eldest son and say, Agnes, I haven't seen you since First Communion. Fucks them up. Fucks them up. They don't know how to handle it. Takes them a week to get over that shit. And they start listening to you a lot more carefully from then on. So don't be afraid to get old. It's a great time of life. You get to take advantage of people, and you're not responsible for anything. You can even shit in your pants. They expect it. I have a You tried that, Chet. But I don't rule it out. I'm keeping my options open. Everything is on the table. Perhaps that's not the figure of speech I really wanted. So anyway, you know what I've been doing? Going through my address book and crossing out the dead people. Do you do that? That's a lot of fun, isn't it? Gives you a good feeling. Kind of gives you a powerful feeling to have outlasted another old friend. But you can't do it too soon, you know? You can't do it too soon. You can't come running home from the funeral and get the book out, you know, be looking at fucking. You can't do that. You have to let a little time pass. A little time has to go by. I have a rule of thumb, 6 weeks. If you're a friend of mine and you're in my book and you die, I leave you alone for an extra 6 weeks. 6 extra weeks in the book, on the house, it's on me. But after that, hey, facts are facts. Fuck you, you're dead. Out you fucking go. Out you fucking go. You gotta have standards. My standard, 6 weeks. Now, these days, a lot of people don't keep analog address books anymore. They don't want to be writing that stuff out longhand. They're in the computer age, they're digitally wired up and they got everything set. They got inside the computer, they have an application called Outlook or Contacts or Address Book or something like that, and they keep all the information in there and then you sync it up with your phone every day or every other day. So now, instead of scratching out a name, you get to delete the fuck. And deleting someone is an even more powerful feeling than simply scratching out a name. You know how to delete someone. You select the name, highlight that person, and straight into the trash. Now, if it's a really good friend of yours, you might not want to empty the trash for about 6 weeks. Or, if it's a little too harsh, for you to delete an old friend, you can always create a new folder. A special folder for dead people. You keep it on your desktop. It's kind of a digital purgatory. And every now and then you can look inside, you can open it up and you can see the people in purgatory in there. And you can move them all around, you know, move them around in purgatory. Get them in little groups. 2 people who didn't get along in life, put them in a corner, let them work it out, you know. Let them work it out in purgatory. Or else start a big fight. Have a big fight in purgatory. That's a lot of fun too. No one's gonna get hurt. They're all fucking dead anyway. Oh, there's a lot of fun you can have with a computer. So enjoy your digital selves. Now, time out. Ah, yes. My performance-enhancing drug. Speaking of dead people, there are things we say when people die. Most of us say certain things that no one ever questions. These things just we kind of let them go. They're sort of unexamined. Things that, for instance, I'll give you an example or two. When someone dies, the following conversation is bound to take place, probably more than once. 2 guys meet on the street. Hey, did you hear? Phil Davis died. Phil Davis? I just saw him yesterday. Yeah? Didn't help. He died anyway. Apparently, the simple act of your seeing him did not slow his cancer down. In fact, it may have made it more aggressive. You know, you could be responsible for Phil's death. How do you live with yourself? Here's another thing we say after someone died. This one is usually said to the surviving spouse. Usually a woman, because of how the actuarial tables figure out. Listen, if there's anything I can do, anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. What are you gonna do, a resurrection? This ain't the fucking New Testament, you know. You know what you tell a guy like that who wants to help? Oh, fine, why don't you come over this weekend? You can paint the garage. You bring your plunger, the upstairs toilet overflowed, and there's shit all over the floor up there. Do you drive a tractor? Good, that'll come in handy. The North 40 needs a lot of attention. Bring your pickaxe and your chainsaw. We're gonna put your ass to work. He wants to help? Fuck him. Call his bluff. Call his bluff. Don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to ask. The nerve of these pricks. Here's another thing they say to the surviving spouse. I'm keeping him in my thoughts. Where? Where exactly in your thoughts does he fit? In between my ass hurts in this chair and let's fuck the waitress? What are your priorities? We use a lot of euphemisms when we talk about death, don't we? People say things like, you know, I lost my father. Ah, he'll turn up. You have to stay optimistic with people like that. Give them a reason to hope. Have you checked the dumpster out back? Now, there's another thing I'd like to point out that we say after a death, but this one involves belief, which is where I begin to have big fucking problems. This one happens after the funeral, after the burial, back at the house. Back at the house where the family and friends and the loved ones of the deceased are gathered and they're having some food and drink and they're trading warm stories about the person who died. Sooner or later, someone is bound to say the following thing, especially after a few drinks. You know, I think he's up there now, smiling down at us, and I think he's pleased. Now, first of all, there is no up there for people to be smiling down from. It's quaint, it's a poetic thought, and I imagine for people who are superstitious, it provides a little comfort, but it doesn't exist. But if it did, and if someone did somehow survive death in a non-physical form, I personally think he'd be far too busy with other celestial activities than to be standing around paradise, smiling down. On live, people. What kind of a fucking eternity is that? And why is it no one ever says, I think he's down there now, smiling up at us? Apparently it never occurs to people that their loved ones might be in hell. Your parents could be in hell right now. Your parents in hell. Your father for sure. Oh shit, hell is full of dads. Full of dads. Even the ones who took you to the ball game just for beating the shit out of you once too often. And fucking the neighbor lady. And fucking the neighbor dog. And who knows, maybe even fucking the UPS man. We'll never know what mischief Dad was up to. Parents in hell. Kind of gives you a nice feeling, doesn't it? It does me. Grandparents in hell. Picture that. Picture your grandmother in hell. Baking pies without an oven. And if someone were in hell, I doubt very much he'd be smiling. I think he's down there now, screaming up at us. And I think he's in severe pain. People just refuse to be realistic. They don't want to be realistic. People would rather stroke themselves. People, they just love to stroke themselves, don't they? They stroke themselves, they stroke each other, and they get stroked. They stroke the boss strokes them. Everybody strokes everybody. There's nothing but a big fucking stroke job in this country. You know what I mean? The government strokes you every day. Yeah. The government strokes you every day of your life. Big business gives you a constant stroke job. Religion never stops fucking stroking you. It's all one big transcontinental, cross-country, red, white, and blue stroke job. Do you know what the national emblem of this country ought to be? Forget that bald eagle. You know what the national emblem of this country ought to be? Uncle Sam standing naked at attention, saluting, and seated on a chair next to him, the Statue of Liberty, jerking him off. That would be the perfect symbol for the United Strokes of America. Because it's all bullshit, folks. That's what you have to remember as you go through life in this country. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, and it's bad for you. Speaking of dead parents in heaven, there's one more little piece of unfinished business to cover here. There are some people who not only believe that their dead parents in heaven can see them, okay? Okay. They honestly believe that their dead parents in heaven can help them. You've met these people, I'm sure. They honestly believe that somehow their dead parents in heaven can intercede with God on their behalf to gain favors for the living. I come from a Catholic home. I heard this shit. They sit there in the chair with the fucking rosary, you know, and they look at you like this and they say, oh, my dad was looking out for me. I don't know how he did that, but he got me out of that jam, you know. Oh, my mom was in surgery with me. I could feel her presence. Yeah. Fine. Like the people who die have nothing better to do than to run the heavenly branch of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, if people want to believe that kind of garbage, it's fine with me, let them believe it. But I have a question about this, a question that involves logic. Let's say it's true. Let's allow this proposition as somehow that dead parents in heaven can help their living children. Fine. So we have a family living on earth. Father and a mother, 4 kids. Family of 6. Good family, nice family, doing all the right things, living a good life, having a good time. And the parents go away on a weekend trip and get killed in an automobile accident, and the 4 children, of course, survive. So now, according to this theory, these 2 parents go to heaven and they start helping their 4 living children, helping them with everything they need, helping them with their science projects, helping them with their SAT scores, helping them get into a good school, get a good job, get a raise, get a promotion, find someone to marry, and these 4 kids grow up. These 4 kids grow up and have children of their own. And let's also say that all 4 of these now grown children also die at the same time, just for the sake of argument. Let's say there's an explosion at Thanksgiving dinner. And all 4 of them die, but their children survive because they were seated at the children's table. So now, according to our theory, these 4 go to heaven and they start helping their living children. But what happens to the original 2? What happens to the grandparents? Do they just go off duty now? Is there a retirement program up there? What can these people do? There must be some activities, shuffleboard, pinball, online poker. What can they do? Or do they have to remain on duty indefinitely? Do they have to continue to help their living descendants forever and ever and ever? Is that what heaven's all about? Helping the living? When do you get to just lie back on a cloud and take a fucking harp lesson, you know what I mean? Because people have been dying for a long, long time. There's been a lot of dead motherfuckers. Did you know that? Oh, you knew that. There's a lot of dead motherfuckers. We've had 100 billion people live on this earth. That's what they say, 100 billion. So let's say half of them went to heaven. That's 50 billion people up there. That's a pretty crowded place. It must get pretty busy, it must get pretty hectic, and God must get pretty pissed off with all these favors. Yeah, I know, spelling test Tuesday. Get the fuck out of here, would you please? Just get the fuck out. Just get the fuck out. Even God can go on sensory overload. That's why he wanted 1 day off a week. Christians gave him Sunday. Jews gave him Saturday. The Muslims gave him Friday. God has a 3-day weekend, which he probably needs. Just a few loose threads here. Suppose you die without having any children. Who do you help? Strangers? It would be nice. Suppose you're an adopted child. Who helps you? Your biological mother? She doesn't even know where the fuck you live. Suppose you kill your parents. Would they help you? I'll guarantee you Mr. and Mrs. Menendez are not helping those 2 boys. Lyle and Eric are on their own. In prison of all places, where they could probably use a little help. It's all bullshit, folks. It's all bullshit and it's bad for you. Now, speaking of parents, which we were, and speaking of bullshit, which I just did, 2 concepts, by the way, which are not always mutually exclusive. I want to talk about a special kind of bullshit that has taken hold in this country in the last 30 to 40 years. It's a form of bullshit that really only can be called child worship. It's child worship, this excessive devotion to children. I'm talking about today's professional parents, these obsessive diaper sniffers who are overmanaging and overscheduling their children and robbing them of their childhoods. Even the simple act of playing has been taken away from children and put on mommy's schedule in the form of play dates. Something that should be spontaneous and free is now being rigidly planned. When does a kid ever get to sit in the yard with a stick anymore? You know, just sit there with a fucking stick. Do today's kids even know what a stick is? You sit in the yard with a fucking stick and you dig a fucking hole. And you look at the hole and you look at the stick and you have a little fun. But kids don't have sticks anymore. I don't think there are any sticks left. I think they've all been recalled because of lead paint. Who would have thought that one day the manufacturing of sticks would be outsourced to China? But you know what? The kid shouldn't be wasting his time with a stick anyway. If he's 4 years old, he should be home studying for his kindergarten entrance exams. You know about that shit? Oh, they happen. Yeah, there are places now that have kindergarten entrance exams. The poor little fuck. The poor little fuck. He can barely locate his dick. And already he's being pressured to succeed for the sake of the parents. Isn't this really just a sophisticated form of child abuse? And speaking of that, speaking of child abuse, next stop, grade school. Grade school, where he won't be allowed to play tag because it encourages victimization. And he won't be allowed to play dodgeball because it's exclusionary and it promotes aggression. Standing around is still okay. Standing around is still permitted, but it won't be for long because sooner or later some kid is going to be standing around and his foot will fall asleep and his parents will sue the school and it'll be goodbye fucking standing around. Now, fortunately, all is not lost. All is not lost because at least we know that when he does get to play whatever games he is allowed to play, the child will never lose. We know he'll never lose because in today's America, no child ever loses. There are no losers anymore. Everyone's a winner. No matter what the game or sport or competition, everybody wins. Everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy, no one is a loser. No child these days ever gets to hear those all-important character-building words, "You lost, Bobby. You lost, you're a loser, Bobby." They miss out on that. You know what they actually tell these kids who lose now? You were the last winner. Some of these kids never get to hear the truth about themselves until they're in their 20s, when their boss calls them in and says, "Bobby, clean the shit out of your desk and get the fuck out of here, you're a loser. You're a fucking loser. Get out of here." Yeah. Well, you can say what you want about the business world, at least it never bullshits itself. Of course, Bobby's parents can't understand why he can't hold a job. In school, he was always on the honor roll. Well, what they don't understand, of course, is that in today's schools, everyone is on the honor roll. Everyone is on the honor roll because in order to be on the honor roll, all you really need to do is to maintain a body temperature somewhere roughly in the 90s. But we shouldn't be worried about how the kid is doing in school because, hey, come summertime, he'll be off to camp. Yes, he'll be off to camp, but not to swim and hike and play softball. No. Today's child will be sent away to lose weight. He'll go to fat camp, or computer camp, or violin camp, or ceramics camp, or leadership camp, whatever the fuck that is. Leadership camp, isn't that where Hitler went? Specialized, structured summer camps. Gotta keep the little fucker busy, don't they? Gotta keep the little fucker busy. Wouldn't want him to sneak in a little unstructured time in the woods. That wouldn't be any good. God knows he might start jacking off. Now, all of this stupid bullshit that children have been so crippled by, and they're finding out now from the ones who are in their 20s now, and the ones who are showing up in college thinking everything's supposed to just fall right out in front of them. This whole thing, this whole notion that has preceded this moment in the act, okay? This whole thing grew out of something called the self-esteem movement. The self-esteem movement began in 1970, and I'm happy to say it has been a complete failure. Because studies have repeatedly shown that having high self-esteem does not improve grades, does not improve career achievement, it does not even lower the use of alcohol, and it most certainly does not reduce the incidence of violence of any sort. Because as it turns out, extremely aggressive, violent people think very highly of themselves. Imagine that. Sociopaths have high self-esteem. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? I love it when this kind of thing happens. I love when these politically correct ideas crash and burn and wind up in the shithouse. Here's another one. Here's another one that bit the dust. The idea, the practice, I should say, of playing Mozart during pregnancy so the fetus can hear it. It was supposed to increase intelligence. Didn't work. Didn't work. All it did was sell a lot of CDs and piss off a whole lot of fetuses. The whole self-esteem movement revolved around a single notion, the bogus idea that every child is special. Boy, these people said it over and over and over, as if to convince themselves. Every child is special. And I kept saying, fuck you. Every child is clearly not special. Did you ever look at one of them? Did you ever take a good close look at one of these fucking kids? They're goofy. They're fucking goofy. They're way too small for one thing. Their heads are too big for their bodies. Their arms and legs don't match. They can't walk across the room in a straight line. And when they talk like they have a mouthful of shit. They're not finished yet. They're unfinished work. Incomplete work. I've never given credit for incomplete work. Now, P.T. Barnum might think they're special, but not me. I have standards. But let's say it's true. I'm in a generous mood tonight. Let's grant this proposition that somehow every child is special. What about every adult? Is it every adult special too? And if not, then at what age do you go? From being special to being not so special. And if every adult is special, then that means we're all special and the whole idea loses all its fucking meaning. Here's another platitude they jam down your throat. Children are our future. Children are not our future, and I can prove it with my usual flawless logic. Children can't be our future because by the time the future arrives, they won't be children anymore, so blow me. As you may have noticed, I always like to present a carefully reasoned argument. Raising a kid is not difficult. They always try to make it into this mysterious, difficult task. Raising children, listen, raising children is the simplest thing in the world if you follow the steps. First step, you take the kid and you put him out on a street corner and you leave him there. You come back a week later. If the kid is still there, you got yourself a stupid fucking kid, okay? That's all you have to know. That's all you need to know. Then you just proceed from that point. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, folks. Now, you wouldn't know it from some of the things I've said over the years, but I like people. I do. I like people, but I like them in short bursts. I don't like people for extended periods of time. I'm all right with them for a little while, But once you get up past around minute and a half, I gotta get the fuck out of there. And my reason for this is one that some of you may share. I have a very low tolerance level for other people's stupid bullshit. Okay? It's a very simple stupid bullshit. And everyone, it seems that everyone has a bunch of stupid bullshit they want to tell you. And some of them don't know when to stop talking. Have you run into them? I'm sure you have. People who don't understand when the conversation is over. They just go on and on, running at the mouth, verbal diarrhea, dumb, trivial shit, stuff, boring shit you're not even remotely interested in. Did I tell you about my mom and dad? Did I tell you about my mom and dad? Well, let me tell you about my mom and dad. My mom and dad went on vacation down to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. They went down to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, drove all the way down. Let's see, this was about 6 years ago, I think. About 6 years ago. Seems like it was about six. Could have been 7. Might have been 7. 6, 7, somewhere, right in there somewhere. More than 6, less than 7. Let's call it 6.5, okay? So about 6.5 years ago, my mom and dad went all the way down to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, and while they were in the cave, they found a big rock, what my dad thought was a big rock. You know, now that I think of it, it might have been 8 years ago. Because that would be right about the time of Y2K, wouldn't it? Remember Y2K? Nothing ever happened. What was that all about? All that fuss, all the worry, nothing ever happened. So I'll call it 8 years ago. Let's say it was 8 years ago. It was either 8 or 5. Somewhere in that area. So my dad picked up this big, well, it turns out it wasn't a rock, it was a dinosaur turd. It was a big 27-pound petrified dinosaur turd. My dad said, here, Mom, put this in your purse. This is a dinosaur turd. We're going to take this home. And my mom said, Dad, I don't think this is a dinosaur turd. This thing is still warm. Whoever dropped this thing is still in the cave, and we ought to get the fuck out of here quicker. 9 years ago. I know it was 9 because my wife was pregnant with our first son, Mahmoud Ibn El Said Ben Salam. And he's 10 now. Or is he 11? He's either 11 or 5. But while all this is going on, you're searching through your mind for something diplomatic that you can say, something graceful and tactful that you can say to help ease the conversation to a close. And all I can ever come up with is, shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! But you can't say that. You can't say that. Good manners will not permit it. You have to find some other strategy. And I go to body language. Do you ever use your body language to try to indicate the conversation is ending? I find myself leaning at a 45-degree angle, trying to indicate the direction I'd like to go. If this person would just shut the fuck up. I might even give him a verbal cue. Surgery. Surgery. I'm late for surgery. I'm having my ears sewn shut. Same thing on the phone. Same people. Same people on the telephone. Same people don't understand when the conversation is over, don't know when to hang up. And it's always dumb shit, stupid questions. Hey, what are you guys gonna do 5 summers from now? Have you made any plans? We can't decide. Marge wants to go to the beach. The kids kind of like it up at the lake, but I want to go to the mountains. Grandma wants to visit her sister in Frog Balls, Arkansas. How about you guys? Have you made any plans? It's never too early to make plans. We're going to Norway in 2025. Did you know that up until the 1950s, Norway's economy was based largely on fishing? But now, thanks to advanced drilling techniques and the spread of the global economy, and once again, you're searching through your mind for just the right phrase. Blow it out your ass comes to mind. Or shut your fucking pie hole is always good. Unless he prefers cake, in which case, shut your fucking cake hole. But you can't say these things, and you can't use body language on the phone. Well, you can always amuse yourself, you know. Or if it's your mother, you show your mother respect and you put her on speakerphone. is tone of voice. Do you ever do that? Use your tone of voice to try to talk the person into a soft landing. You kind of like ease them into the end of the conversation. Right, good. Okay, good. All right then, good. Okay, good. All right, yeah, okay. Fuck, there he goes again. You remember my neighbor, the one with the burns on 90% of her body? Well, she burned the other 10% now. She was lighting a fart and her bush caught fire. Listen, Reverend, I hate to be rude, but I just took a 3.5-hour shit. And I'm bleeding from the asshole. Well, I don't have any Mercurochrome. All right, I'll put a Snoopy bandage on it, thank you. You do that, say a prayer for my asshole, thank you very much. You have to resort to these tactics because many people, it seems, do not know what a phone call is or what a phone call should be. Ideally, in an ideal world, a phone call should be the brief exchange of a few vital pieces of information. This is a phone call. Hey, Steve, what time's the circle jerk start tonight? 10 o'clock. Okay, listen, I'm going to be a little bit late. You'll have to start without me. Oh, don't worry, I'll catch up. I'm eating a whole bunch of oysters and watching a horny movie. Well, it's called Tarzan Fucks a Zebra. Russell Crowe. Well, it's kind of a fantasy. Right now, Renee Zellweger is blowing a unicorn. That's a phone call. That's a phone call. It should not be a 2.5-hour harangue of your third cousin describing her mailman's liposuction. God, people are fucking boring, aren't they? People are just fucking boring. Boring. You know what would be great? You know what would be great for a guy like me? Just to be in a coma. Wouldn't that be great? Nothing to do all day, you just crap out. They breathe through a tube, they feed you through a fucking tube, nothing to do, no responsibilities, no phone calls coming in, nobody dropping by unexpectedly, and if they do drop by, you're completely unaware of it, because you're in a fucking coma, and you're practically clinically dead, and you don't have to listen to their stupid shit. There's stupid shit like about their new ride-around lawnmower with the two-tone horn and the GPS in case they get lost on the lawn. And their boss, and their job, and their car, and their kids. Jesus fucking Christ. Their kids. Folks, nothing worse than to be stuck somewhere listening to some married asshole tell you about his fucking kids. Folks, let me tell you something, folks. Nobody cares about your children, okay? We don't fucking care. None of us. I speak for everyone. I've been selected by the rest of the group to speak for all of us. We don't care about your fucking children. All right? Okay? Good. We don't care about your children. That's why they're your children. So you can care about them, and we don't have to bother. But they tell you anyway. Todd is in the 7th grade now. He's in the cheese club. Giselle is 5, and already she's had 9 periods. Johan is 11 now, and he pretty much sits around the house hallucinating all the time. Then they want to show you the pictures. Here's another ordeal. The pictures of these little gargoyles that they have loosed from their loins. These professional mommies, they think there's nothing better than having a baby. Oh, they think it's the most important thing in the world. Having a baby is supposed to be a big event. You know what I call it? Pumping out a unit. That's all they're doing. Pumping out a fucking unit. Like factory work, some of them every fucking year. Hey Jeff, want a kid? How about twins? Polluting the earth. Polluting the earth with these creatures who have no future. They have no future. Have you pictured what this planet is going to be like in 40 or 50 years? It's going to be a big smoking ball of shit. It's going to be a big smoking, gaseous, stinking ball of flaming shit. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. It's irresponsible to have more than one child. Have one. Have one child. Replacement value for yourself. Don't even replace your husband. He's done enough fucking damage as it is, don't you think? But they want to show you the pictures. Sometimes they warn you. That's fair, you know. Hey, you want to see some pictures of my kid? No. Just describe them to me. But they show you anyway. Now, there are two ways you can handle the pictures. I have found two ways to handle the pictures. The first is the easy way. You just kind of go along with the game, take it all in stride. Boy, girl, older boy, older girl. Good. 4. Listen, I have to go wash my crotch. I'll see you later. But you get the fuck out of there. Or you can do what I do. Be a little honest about what you see. Take a chance. Tell the truth. Be a little descriptive. Look at the fucking head on that kid. Where'd he get a head like that? Jesus Christ, that thing is fucking huge. Have you put him on YouTube yet? Well, you get a lot of hits with a head like that, you know. Or put him on eBay. You might make a little money that way, yeah? I'm sure some European circus would snap his ass up in a fucking minute. God damn, that thing is unusual. Look at that fucking thing. Hey, maybe he'll grow into it. You never know with kids, huh? Let me ask you a practical question. Where do you find hats for a kid like that? Tell the truth. Don't be bullshitting people. There's enough bullshit as it is, okay? Don't be bullshitting when you see the pictures. Tell them what you see. Then they want you to see the pictures of the little girl whose second teeth are coming in. And they think it's cute. It's not. It's fucking horrifying. Did you ever look at the teeth on some of these kids, these teeth coming in? Did you ever take a good close look inside the mouth? Did you ever look in there and see what's going on? Several rows of teeth in some cases coming in at the same time. All different angles. There's one under the tongue. That's unusual. Holy shit. A sublingual tooth. My God, never saw that before. Once again, tell the truth. You better start saving your money right now, pal. Because it's going to cost you a fucking fortune to straighten that shit out. You are going to need an international team of orthodontists around the clock. 24/7. You might want to call in FEMA. That's a FEMA job. Get the National Guard on the phone. That's a fucking disaster. You know what you ought to do? Just have them all pulled and let her start over again, you know? Or take a picture of her with her mouth closed. That would save you a lot of heartache in the long run. Listen, you're not Catholic by any chance, are you? Well, the reason I ask is you might want to take her over to Lourdes and pray for a miracle over there. Tell the truth, folks. There's enough bullshit as it is, as I say. In fact, there's just enough. There's just enough. Did you know that? There's just enough bullshit in this country to hold things together. Bullshit is the glue that binds us as a nation. Where would we be? Where would we be without our safe, familiar American bullshit? Land of the free, home of the brave, the American dream. All men are equal, justice is blind, the press is free, business is honest, your vote counts, the good guys win, the police are on your side, God is watching you, your standard of living will never decrease, and everything is gonna be just fine. The official national bullshit story. I call it the American okey doke. It's the okey doke, folks. Every one of those items that I mentioned is provably untrue at one level or another, but we believe them because they're pounded into your heads from the time you're a kid. That's what they do. That's the strategy. Get you when you're a kid. They pound this shit into the heads of children because they know that children can't muster an intellectual argument against these sophisticated ideas. And they also know that up to a certain age, children believe everything that grown-ups tell them. And as a result, they never learn to question things. Children are never taught to question things. Nobody learns to question. Nobody questions anything in this fucking country. Everybody gets away with everything. Nobody questions a fucking thing. You know why? Everybody's too fat and happy. America is way too fucking prosperous for its own good. Way too fucking prosperous for its own good. Believe me. Just fucking believe me. Everybody's got a cell phone that'll make pancakes and rub their balls now. So they don't want to rock the boat, you know what I mean? Americans have been bought off and silenced by toys and gizmos. And no one questions anything. Nobody questions anything. Remember Barbara Bush? Barbara Bush, I call her the silver douchebag. You remember her? Barbara Bush. She's the mother of Governor George Bush. I call him Governor Bush because that's the only elected office he ever held legally in our country. Okay? Governor Bush. I don't care where they hang his portrait. I don't care how big his library gets to be. He'll never be anything more than Governor Bush. I don't even capitalize his name when I type it anymore. But anyway, Barbara is George's mother, and therefore she's also the wife of his father, George H.W. Bush, who did become president in the normal, legal, traditional manner. And when he did, she came along, Barbara came along for the ride as First Lady. That's the way it's been. Traditionally, historically, in this country, a man has been elected, and the woman has come along for a free ride as First Lady. And they're always condescended to and patronized. As women in this country, you know, women have come a long way in America over the last 30 years, 40 years, but not far enough, because there are still many areas where women are more or less condescended to and patronized, and First Lady is one of those positions. As soon as she becomes First Lady, they give her something to do, something to keep her busy, keep her occupied. They give her a charity or a cause that she can champion. Betty Ford was told to drink. Remember that? That was her assignment. Betty, you drink and get really fucked up, okay? Just get totally fallen down, shit-faced, fucked up, drunk, blow your liver out. Blow your fucking liver out, honey. Then we'll hose you down, we'll put you in a facility and get you well, we'll put your name on the facility, and Liza Minnelli can get sober too, and everything's gonna be okay, all right? That was her assignment. That was her assignment. Barbara Bush's assignment was getting children to read. Remember that? Getting children to read. They figured she had had so much success with George that she would be a natural. She would be a natural to get children to read, which misses the point. Not important to get children to read. Kids who want to read are going to read. Kids who want to learn to read are going to learn to read. Much more important to teach children to question what they read. Children should be taught to question everything they read. Question authority. Question authority and defy authority whenever possible. Children are never told by their parents to question authority because parents are authority figures themselves and they don't want to undermine their own bullshit inside the household. So they stroke the kid and the kid strokes them and they all stroke each other and they grow up all fucked up and they come to shows like this, okay? That's what happens. That's what happens. It's my belief that one of the greatest gifts you can give a child is to warn them that life in this country is about detecting the bullshit, detecting it and then learning to fend it off. This country is nothing but a load of bullshit that comes at you every day, from every direction, from every institution. It's all bullshit, and you have to learn to spot it, and you have to learn to dodge it or fucking go right through it, one or the other. I was never warned about this stuff. No one warned me. I had to find out a lot of things for myself. And there are still a lot of things about America, customs, slogans, and various beliefs that I'm supposed to accept at face value, and frankly, I never have. I question a lot of things. I saw a slogan on a guy's car recently. It said, "Proud to be an American." And I wondered, well, what the fuck does that mean? Proud to be an American. You see, I've never understood ethnic pride or national pride. I'm Irish, okay? All four of my grandparents were born in Ireland. My father was born there, so I'm completely fucking Irish. And when I was a kid, I would go to the St. Patrick's Day parade, and I noticed that they sold a little button that said, "Proud to be Irish." And I could never understand that, because I also knew that on Columbus Day, they sold a different button that said, "Proud to be Italian." Then there was Black Pride, and then Puerto Rican Pride. And I could never understand ethnic or national pride, because to me, pride should be reserved for something you achieve or attain on your own, not something that happens by accident of birth. By accident of birth. Being Irish isn't a skill. It's a fucking genetic accident. You wouldn't say I'm proud to be 5'11". You wouldn't say I'm proud to have a predisposition for colon cancer. Why the fuck would you be proud to be Irish or Italian or American or anything. If you're happy with it, that's different. Put that on your car. Happy to be an American, that's different. Happiness, good. Pride, no. Too much pride as it is. Pride goeth before a fall. Never thought I'd be quoting Proverbs tonight, did you? Okay. Here's another one of these slogans that you hear. This is one you hear more than you see. God bless America. And once again, I say with respect, what the fuck does that mean? God bless America? Is that a request? Is that a demand? Is that a suggestion? Politicians say it at the end of every speech, as if it were some sort of verbal tick that they can't get rid of. God bless you and God bless America. God bless you and God bless America. I guess they figure if they leave it out, someone's going to think they're bad Americans. Well, let me tell you a little secret about God, okay? God does not give a flying fuck about America. He never has and he never will. He doesn't care about this country. Never has, never will. He doesn't care about America any more than he cares about Pittsburgh, Mongolia, Transylvania, the North Pole, or the Suez Canal. He simply doesn't care. There are 200 countries in the world now. Do these people honestly think that God is sitting around picking out his favorites? Why would he do that? Why would God have a favorite country? And why would it be America out of all the countries? Because we have the most money? Because he likes our national anthem? Maybe it's because he heard we have 18 delicious flavors of classic rice-a-broni. It's delusional thinking, and Americans are not alone with these delusions, not alone in the world with our delusions. Military cemeteries around the world are packed with brainwashed, dead soldiers who were convinced God was on their side. Americans pray for God to destroy our enemies. Our enemies pray for God to destroy us. Somebody's going to be disappointed. Somebody's wasting their fucking time. Could it be everyone? Now, if people want to say God bless America, it's fine with me, say what you want. But presumably these people who say God bless America believe in God, wouldn't you think? And if they do, haven't they heard? God loves everyone. Said he loved everyone equally. Told us to do the same thing, love each other equally. So why would these people ask God to do something that went against his own teachings? You know what these God bless people ought to do? They ought to take a page from that Jesus fella they're so crazy about. Oh, they're always running around talking about what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? They don't want to know so they can do it. They just want to know so they can tell other people to do it. Well, I'll tell you what Jesus would have done. Jesus would have gone to the top of the Empire State Building and he would have said, God bless everyone around the world forever and ever till the end of time. That's what Jesus would have done, and that's what these people ought to do. Or else they ought to admit that God bless America is really just another empty slogan with no real meaning to it except for something vague like good luck. Good luck, America, you're on your own, which is a little bit closer to the truth. Here's one of these civic customs that, frankly, I don't understand. Taking off your hat when a flag passes by, or when some jackoff at the ballpark starts to sing the national anthem. They tell you, take off your hat. What the fuck does a hat have to do with being patriotic? What possible relationship exists between an uncovered head and a feeling that ought to be living in your heart? Suppose you have a red, white, and blue hat. Suppose you have a hat made out of a flag. Why would you take it off to honor the flag? Wouldn't you leave it on and point it toward the flag? And what's so bad about hats that you have to take them off? Why not take off your pants? Or your shoes? They tell you that at the airport. They say, take off your shoes. They tell you it's national security. So taking off your shoes can be patriotic too. I started to question all of this stupid hat shit when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was a Catholic, okay? I was a Catholic until I reached the age of reason. Let's keep it in balance here, okay? So I was a Catholic for about 2.5 years, something like that. And during that time, one of the things they told us was that if a boy or a man went into a church, he had to remove his hat to honor the presence of God. But they had already told me that God was everywhere. So I used to wonder, well, if God is everywhere, why would you even own a hat? Why not show your respect? Don't even buy a fucking hat. And just to confuse things further, they told the women exactly the opposite. Catholic girls and Catholic women had to cover their heads when they went into a church. Similar to Jewish men in certain temples. In those temples, the Jewish men have to cover their heads. In those same temples, Jewish women not allowed to cover their heads. So try to figure this shit out. Catholic men and Jewish women, no hats. Catholic women and Jewish men, hats. Somebody's got the whole thing totally fucking backwards, don't you think? And what is this religious fascination with headgear? Every fucking religion's got a different fucking hat. Did you ever notice that? The Hindus have a turban, the Sikhs have a tall white turban, the Jews have the yarmulke, the Muslims have the keffiyeh, the bishop has a pointy hat on one day and a round hat on another day, the cardinal has a red hat, the pope has a white hat. Everybody's got a fucking hat. One group puts them on, the other group takes them off. Personally, I would never want to be a member of any group where you either have to wear a hat or you can't wear a hat. I think all religions should have one rule and one rule only: hats optional. That's all you need to run a really good religion. Here's another one of these civic customs: swearing on the Bible. Have you figured that shit out yet? They tell you to raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible. Does this shit really matter? Which hand? Does God really give a fuck about details like this? Suppose you put your right hand on the Bible and you raise your left hand. Would that count? Or would God say, sorry, wrong hand, try again? And why does one hand have to be raised? What is the magic in this gesture? This seems like some sort of a primitive voodoo mojo shtick. Why not put your left hand on the Bible, let your right hand hang down by your side? It's more natural. Or put it in your pocket. Remember what your mother used to say? Don't put your hands in your pockets. Did she know something we don't know? Is this hand shit really important? Well, let's get back to the Bible, America's favorite national theatrical prop. Suppose the Bible they hand you to swear on is upside down, or backward, or both, and you swear to tell the truth on an upside down, backward Bible. Would that count? Suppose the Bible they hand you is an old Bible and half the pages are missing. Suppose all they have is a Chinese Bible in an American court, or a Braille Bible and you're not blind. Suppose they hand you an upside down, backward Chinese Braille Bible with half the pages missing. At what point does all of this stuff break down and become just a lot of stupid shit that somebody made up? It's fucking make-believe, folks. It's fucking make-believe. We made it up. We made it up. Now, let's leave the Bible aside. We'll get back to the science fiction reading later. The really important question here is, what is the big deal about swearing to God in the first place? Why does swearing to God mean you're going to tell the truth? Wouldn't affect me. If they said to me, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, I'd say, yeah. I'll tell you about as much truth as the people who wrote that fucking Bible. How do you like that? Swearing on the Bible doesn't mean anything. Swearing to God doesn't mean anything. It's superstitious nonsense. It's kid stuff. It's fucking kid stuff. You remember when you were a kid, if you told another kid something he didn't quite believe, he'd say, you swear to God? I would say, yeah, I swear to God. Even if I was lying. Why not? What's going to happen if I lie? Nothing. Nothing happens if you lie. Unless you get caught, and that's a whole different story. Sometimes a kid would think he was being slick with me, and he'd say, you swear on your mother's grave? I'd say, yeah, why not? First of all, my mother was alive. She didn't even have a grave. Second of all, even if she was dead, what's she gonna do? Rise from the grave and come and haunt me? Because I told a lie to an 8-year-old? Get fucking real, will you? Sometimes I would say, I swear on my mother's tits. Kids are impressed with things like that. I don't care about my mother's tits either. I don't care if they fell off. Fuck her. Not my problem. They're your tits, Ma. You keep an eye on them. Swearing on the Bible doesn't mean anything. Swearing to God doesn't mean anything, because you know something? Bible or no Bible, God or no God, if it suits their purposes, people are going to lie in court. The police do it all the time. All the time. Yes. It's part of their job to protect, to serve, and to commit perjury whenever it supports the state's case. Swearing on the Bible is just one more way of controlling people and keeping them in line. And it's one more superstitious nonsense piece that holds us back as a species. Now, final little chapter in this civics book tonight is something that we all talk about a lot: rights. Everybody's always running around this fucking country yammering about their rights. I have a right, you have no right, we have a right, they don't have a right, the government has a right, we have no right. Yeah. Folks, I hate to spoil your fun, but there's no such thing as rights, okay? We made them up. It's imaginary, like the boogeyman. Like the Three Little Pigs, Pinocchio, Mother Goose, shit like that. It's a cute idea, right? It's a cute idea. But that's all it is, cute and fictional. But if you think that you do have rights, let me ask you this. Where do they come from? People say, well, they come from God. They're God-given rights. Oh, fuck, here we go again. The God excuse, the last refuge for a man with no answers and no argument, it came from God. Anything we can't explain, it came from God. Hey, let me tell you something. I personally think that if your rights came from God, God would have given you the right to some food every day, and he would have given you the right to a roof over your head. God would have been looking out for you. He would have been looking out for you. He wouldn't have been worried about making sure you have a gun so you can get drunk on Saturday night and kill your girlfriend's parents. But let's say it's true. Let's say God gave us these rights, okay? Why would he give us a certain number of rights? The Bill of Rights in this country has 10 stipulations, 10 rights. By the way, God must have been doing sloppy work that week because we've had to amend the Bill of Rights an additional 17 times. God left out a few things. He overlooked some things like slavery. Just fucking slipped his mind. But let's say he gave us the original 10. He gave the British 13. The British Bill of Rights has 13 stipulations. The Germans have 29. The Belgians have 25. The Swedish have only 6. And some people in the world have no rights at all. What kind of a goddamn God-given deal is that? No rights at all? Why would God give different people in different countries different numbers of different rights? Boredom? Amusement? Bad arithmetic? Do we find out at long last, after all this time, that God is weak in math skills? Doesn't sound like divine planning to me. Sounds more like human planning. Sounds more like one group trying to control another group. In other words, business as usual in the United States of America. Folks, if you believe you have rights, I say to you, there's one last thing you can do to prove my point that you really don't have rights. When you're home at the computer, get on the internet and go to Wikipedia. Go to Wikipedia, and in the search field on Wikipedia, type in Japanese Americans 1942, and you'll find out all about your precious fucking rights. In 1942, there were 110,000 Japanese American citizens in good standing, people who were law-abiding American citizens, were thrown into internment camps simply because their parents were born in the wrong country. That's the only thing they did wrong. They had no right to a lawyer, no right to a fair trial, no right to a jury of their peers, no right to due process of any kind. The only right they had was, right this way, into the internment camps. Just when these 110,000 American citizens needed their rights the most, their government took them away. And rights aren't rights if someone can take them away. They're privileges. That's all you have in this country. That's all you've ever had. Privileges. Temporary privileges. Because if you read the news, even cursorily, you know that the list gets shorter and shorter every year. Sooner or later, the people in this country are going to realize that the government of the United States does not give a fuck about them. It doesn't care about you, or your rights, or your safety, or your welfare, or your family. It doesn't give a shit about you. It doesn't fucking care about you. It's interested in its own power, how to expand that power and hold on to it. Personally, I think one of two things is true when it comes to rights. I think either we have unlimited rights, or we have no rights at all. Anything in between sounds arbitrary to me. Personally, I lean toward unlimited rights. I feel, for instance, that I have the right to do anything I please. But if I do something you don't like, I think you have the right to kill me. So where are you going to find a fairer fucking deal than that? So the next time some asshole says to you, I have a right to my opinion, say, oh yeah? Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion. Then shoot the fuck and walk away. Thanks for coming here tonight. I do appreciate it very